Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. Can BILT Rewards and the BILT Rewards MasterCard ultimately survive? And why isn't anybody else offering you the opportunity to pay rent with a credit card? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, BILT is a company that I am pretty fascinated with, but when I look at their business model, I have to say to myself, how can they survive? Can they survive? Now, the answer to that in the short term, at least, is definitely yes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But in the long term, how do things play out for BILT? First off, if you're not familiar with how the BILT Rewards MasterCard works, it is simple, but the hook is incredible. It allows you to pay your rent with a credit card without any extra fees, and you earn rewards on those rent payments. Now, even if you have a landlord that doesn't accept rent payments, you can still use BILT because they have built in a mechanism where you essentially pay BILT and then BILT will send a check to your landlord. So even then you can get around that and still earn those rewards. So it's a pretty cool thing, and it is interesting that 2 years later, BILT was the first to do it and they're still the only one doing it. So that's an incredible deal for you if you're a BILT credit card holder, but how does BILT sustain that? There are credit card processing fees that go along with all of these rent payments, and if you're not paying them and the landlord's not paying them, well, it seems like BILT must be the one paying them. So if they are eating those transaction fees, sort of using the rent payments as a loss leader to get you into the credit card, they must assume that they can make up for that and more elsewhere in their credit card operations. So yes, BILT can survive for now, but are they sustainable? Now, one way BILT makes up for the fact that it might be eating some processing fees is the fact that if you want rewards on those rent payments, you have to use the card at least 5 times during the billing cycle. So they are sort of guaranteeing that you are going to be using the card otherwise, and they're going to be making some money on those purchases, both in transaction fees and potentially in interest if you ever carry a balance. Is that enough to overcome what they might be eating in fees? I'm not sure. And you have a card here with no annual fee, and a card with no foreign transaction fees, and a card that is giving you rewards on other purchases that you make with it as well. So from the outside, it feels like something has to give, except just a couple days before I made this video, BILT had a big announcement that another $200 million has been invested in the company. And one of the venture capital firms that put money in is called General Catalyst, and their board chair or the head of the company, I'm not even totally sure on that, to be honest with you, but it's Ken Chenault, who used to be the CEO of American Express. So he is coming in not only as an investor, but now going to be the chairman of the board of BILT. Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, also coming in as one of the board of directors of BILT. I don't know how much Roger is adding to things, but still, it adds some more credibility to BILT. Obviously, it adds a whole lot more money. So you've got money, you've got credibility. Obviously, you've got some people here who believe in the future of BILT. So has BILT figured it out? Well, not necessarily, but when you put $200 million into a company and that company is now valued at $3.1 billion, obviously it has enough traction that there are a lot of people with a lot of money who believe something is going in the right direction. Now, usually these venture capital firms, when they put money in, they obviously want to get even more money out, and eventually the way that works is there's either an IPO or a bigger company buys that company. Wells Fargo, already a part owner of BILT, and Wells Fargo is the issuer of the BILT Rewards MasterCard, so it is not inconceivable that Wells Fargo might buy the rest of BILT at some point, which would allow these venture capitalists to make a quick profit on some of this, even at a $3.1 billion valuation, I guess. But if BILT is getting some traction, why hasn't anyone else done the same thing? It seems like it would be a no-brainer for another credit card company to come in and say, hey, we're going to allow rent payments by credit card as well. And they've got much deeper pockets than BILT does, so they might be willing to lose some money and take BILT out of the game pretty quickly, actually, because BILT, despite having all this money pumped into it, if one of the big card issuers really came in hard on this, the hook that BILT has would be blunted, if not killed off completely. So it is interesting to see that no one else is doing it. Is it just because this is a small company doing something that seems like peanuts in comparison to the profits that the credit card issuers are making? Or is it where small companies sometimes will sort of do the dirty work that the big companies won't in order to build something up? And when it gets to a certain level, the big companies just swoop in and buy it. It's hard to know for sure why we're not seeing it somewhere else. Obviously, the venture capitalists and other investors that are part of BILT must think that it is the latter, that they are letting BILT sort of do that dirty work and that somebody else is going to come in and buy the company once they have it perfected, once they've set up the whole infrastructure, the whole network of all these landlords and figured out how to make this profitable. Somebody else will give them money for all their labor. But of course, there are many stories where that small company that is doing something innovative, doing the hard work to solve a hard problem that is not worth it for the big companies, well, they end up getting to a point where when the big companies swoop in to buy them, they no longer want to be bought because now they have found that they are in a position of power. So it is going to be interesting to see how things play out with BILT. Are they going to survive? Is someone eventually going to buy them when they've sort of completely solved the rent by credit card game and perhaps the mortgage by credit card game? Or do they eventually become a huge player and some of these other banks will wish that they had swooped in earlier? Anyway, I would love to hear your comments, thoughts about that, or anything else that you want to talk about in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you're not going to leave a comment or go to the website, maybe you'll want to watch next this video.